Hello students, today we are looking at inequalities in two variables. Inequalities in two variables. Show graphically the regions represented by the following inequalities. The first number 2x plus y plus 1 is greater than 0. 2x plus 1 plus y plus 1 is greater than 0. You will see here that the graph is having two variables, x and y. So we need to draw it on the Cartesian plane. Now, before we draw it on the Cartesian plane, we must know the coordinates of where we are going to plot. So we will now try to, when x is equal to 0, when the value of x is 0, so you are now going to get the corresponding value for y. So you substitute 0 for x, 2 into bracket 0 plus y plus 1 is equal to 0. What we are just trying to do here is that we want to look for the coordinates of the point we have to plot. So now 2 times 0 is for 0. So give us y plus 1. So 0 plus 1 will give us 1 is equal to 0. When this plus 1 comes here, y plus 1 is equal to 0. When plus 1 comes to this side, now turn to y is equal to 1. So write it as a coordinate. When x is 0, y is 1. So this shows the value of x and this shows the value for y that you are going to plot on the graph. Now also, you pick a value for y. When y is equal to 0, what will be the value for x? You are going to substitute into the equation 2x plus, in place of y, put 0 plus 1 is equal to 0. So you are having 2x, 0 plus 1 is 1, is equal to 0. When this plus 1 comes in, now turn to minus 1. So to get x, divide both sides by 2, so that your x will now be what? Minus 1 over 2. Same thing you have as minus 0.5. So that means x is equal to minus 0.5 when y is equal to 0. So when x is minus 0.5, y is 0. So you always write the value of x first before y. When x is minus 0.5, y is 0. Now, you are now going to plot this now on the Cartesian plane. You draw your x-axis and your y-axis. So this minus 1, 2, 3, 4. This positive side of x-axis, negative side of x-axis, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. This positive side of y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This negative side, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5. Now, you are now going to plot the point when x is 0, y is minus 1. The point where x is 0 on this line, x is 0 here, y is minus 1. Y is minus 1 here. So the 0 here on this line, y is minus 1. So you are going to plot this. It will be this point. Then the other one, when x is minus 0.5, y is 0. Minus 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is x minus 0.5. Y is 0 on this point. So you are going to mark. So these 2 points, you will join it together to form a straight line. Now, because this, what you are having here is just greater than, you join these 2 points with a broken line. Because you are just having greater than, there is no equality sign. You join the 2 points with broken lines. You can see I join it together with broken line. Now look at it. You now realize that the point where x is 0, y is 0 is at this point. You will observe that this line divides these graphs into two parts. This part here and the part that is here. It divides it into this part here and the part that is here. Now, from the part that is here, the point where x is 0 and y is 0 is from this point. If I substitute when x is 0, y is 0 into that equation, into the equation 2x plus y plus 1 is greater than 0. Let's do it. Substitute x 0, y 0. 2 times 0 plus 0 plus 1 is greater than 1. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 0 plus 1 greater than 1. 0 plus 0 plus 1 is what? 1 greater than 1. Is it true that, is this statement true? 1 is greater than 0? Yes, that is true. Because it is true, and because I pick it from this side of the graph, I'm going to shade this part of the graph because it is true that x is 0, y is 0, and I'm picking x 0 and y 0 from this part of the graph. Because of that, I will now shade this side of the graph. So I'm shading this side of the graph. So that means it is this side that satisfies the equation. Let's do another example. 2y minus x minus 3 is less than 0. 2y minus x minus 3 is less than 0. Now, in this situation, we want to represent it on the graph. Before then, we need to look for the coordinates we are going to plot on the Cartesian plane. So when x is equal to 0, what will be the value for y? We are trying to pick coordinates, the point we want to plot on the graph. When x is 0, so that means we substitute x 0 for x and solve the equation. So you having 2y minus, in place of x equals 0 minus 3 is equal to 0. 0 minus 3 will give us minus 3 is equal to 0. So bring this minus 3 to this side, it now turns to plus 3. 2y is equal to 3. So to get y, you are going to divide both sides by 2. So when you divide both sides by 2, the value for y will now give you 3 over 2 or 1.5. So that means when x is 0, y is 1.5. Remember, you write the value of x first before you write the value for y. When x is 0, y is 1.5. Now, again, you are going to have when y is 0. When y is 0, substitute into the equation. When y is 0, substitute this into the equation. So that means in place of when y is 0, substitute this into the equation. 2 into bracket 0 minus x minus 3 is equal to 0. So 2 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3 will give us minus 3 is equal to 0. So you bring this minus 3 to this side, we turn to plus 3. So minus x is equal to minus 3. So to get x, divide both sides by minus 1. Or you can say multiply both sides by minus 1. When you multiply, minus x times minus 1 will give us plus x. 3 times minus 1 will give us minus 3. So x is equal to minus 3. So when x is minus 3, y is 0. When x is minus 3, y is 0. So from there, you need to plot your graph. You are going to draw your Cartesian plane, the x-axis and the y-axis. This is the positive side of the x-axis, negative side of the x-axis. Positive side of the y-axis, negative side of the y-axis. The center is point x is 0, y is 0. Now, first of all, you want to plot this coordinate when x is 0, y is 1.5. X is 0 on this line, y is 1.5. If this is 1, 4. So y is 1.5 here. So you are going to plot it. Mark that point. Then the other one, when x is minus 3, y is 0. X is minus 3 here. And y is 0 on this line. So minus 3 and y is 0. You are going to plot this, mark this point. So now, you now look at this sign here. This is just showing less than. Because it is less than, you will join these 2 points with a broken line. You will join these 2 points with a broken line. You join it together with a broken line because the question is saying that it's just less than. Join it with a broken line. When you join it with a broken line, now you want to know the place you have to shade. Now, to determine where to shade, it means that you are going to, I'm going to pick a coordinate. You realize this line you have drawn has divided this graph into 2 parts, this lower part and this upper part. From this lower part of this line, the point where x is 0, y is 0 is here, abi? So now let's try to substitute when x is 0, y is 0 into the equation. So when x is 0, y is 0, in place of y put 0, in place of x put 0. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 0 minus 3. 0 minus 0 minus 3 give us minus 3 is less than 0. Is it true that minus 3 is less than 0? Yes, this is true. Because it is true, and you are picking that coordinate, this coordinate from this lower part of this line. So because it is true that x is 0, y is 0 is here, and you are picking it from this side, you are going to shade this part of the graph. So you shade this part of the graph. So this is a part that satisfies the equation. I hope it is clear. Let's consider another example. X minus 2y plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. X minus 2y plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. So first of all, we need to get the coordinate. So because we want to get the coordinate, so let's try to set it in. When x is 0, what will be the value for y? So substitute 0 for x. 0 minus 2y plus 1 is equal to 0. 0 plus 1 will give us plus 1. Minus 2y plus 1 is equal to 0. Bring this plus 1 to this side. Now turn to minus 1. So minus 2y is equal to minus 1. To get y, you divide both sides by minus 2. So that we are left with what? Only y here. Minus divided by minus is plus 1 over 2 is same thing as 0.5. So it means that when x is 0, y is 0.5. Now, let's look at the second coordinate. When y is 0. When y is 0, what will be the value for x? So you substitute 0 for y. So x minus, in place of y, put 0 plus 1 is equal to 0. So we have x minus 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1 is equal to 0. 0 minus 0 plus 1 will give us 1. If I bring this plus 1 to this side, now turn to minus 1. So it means the second coordinate is 1. When x is minus 1, y is 0. So you add the value of x before y. When x is minus 1, y is 0. So now you are going to plot your Cartesian plane. We have the x-axis and the y-axis. So this is positive x-axis, negative x-axis, positive y-axis, negative y-axis. So now the first coordinate says that when x is 0, y is 0.5. So if you look at it, 0 x is 0 on this point. They now say y is 0. On this line, y was 0.5. So y is 0.5. Here is the so this is your point. This is the coordinate. Then the second one, when x is minus 1, when x is minus 1, y is 0. So x is minus 1 here, y is 0 on this point. So that means you mark it. So you realize that because this one is having less than or equality sign, you will join the 2 points together with a straight line. Because this equation is having less than or equality sign, you join these two points coordinate with a straight line. So you join it together with a straight line. So this is a straight line. You join it together with a straight line. Now let's now try to pick. You realize that this line, the line you have drawn, divided this graph into two parts. The lower part of this graph here and the upper part here. Lower part here and the upper part here. Now you now realize that if the point x is 0, y is 0 is at this part of the graph here. Let's check. Let's try to bring it in. When x is 0, y is 0 into the equation. So this is 0. 2 times 0 plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. This one gives us 0 minus 0 plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. 0 minus 0 plus 1 is what? Plus 1 is less than or equal to 0. Is it true that 1 is less than 0? That is no. 1 is greater than 0. So because of that, this expression is false. Because this expression is false, and you pick the point x0 and y0 from this point, and the expression is false, you are going to shade the opposite side of the graph. You know the expression we got here, 1 is less than, this is false. Because it is false, you know the point, the coordinate, you pick it here, abi. So since you pick it here, and since the statement is false, you are going to shade the opposite side of the graph. So that means the required region here will be this side of the graph. So because the expression is false, this is false, and you pick it from this lower part, because it is false, you shade the opposite side. In assuming like the first two examples we did, if it is true, you will shade this side, but since it is false, you shade this side, the opposite side. Now let's have another example. You are having 3x minus y is less than or equal to minus 4. 3x minus y is less than or equal to minus 4. So again, we try to get the coordinates. So when x is equal to 0, so substitute the value for x to be 0. So when you substitute the value for x to be 0, so 3 into bracket 0 minus y is equal to minus 4. 3 times 0 will give us 0. Minus y is equal to minus 4. So you have minus y, 0 minus y is 0, minus y is equal to minus 4. So now, to be able to get y, divide both sides by minus 1. So minus divided by minus will give us plus. Y is equal to minus divided by minus will give us what? Plus 4. Y is equal to 4. So when x is 0, y is plus 4. Now the other one, when y is equal to 0, what will be the value for x? So that means we having 3x minus in place of y, put 0 is equal to minus 4. So you're having 3x is equal to 0 is and that will 3x is equal to minus 4. So to get x, divide both sides by 3. When you divide both sides by 3, so x will be equal to minus 1. 4 divided by 3 is 1.3 minus 1.3. So when x is minus 1.3, y is 0. So you are now going to pick your graph. When you pick your graph, you are having the graph of the x-axis, y-axis. Now, when x is 0, y is plus 4. X is 0 here, y is plus 4. So this will be the coordinate you will plot. Also, when x is what? Minus 1.3, y is 0. So here you will be having x will be 1.3 here and y is 0 on this point. Now, these two coordinates, if you look at the equation is saying that we have one less than or equal to. Because we are having equality sign, you will join it together with a straight line. So you join it together with a straight line. Now, you realize that this graph this line has divided this graph into two parts. This part of the graph and this part of the graph. Now, to determine where we are going to shade, here, we pick the point x is 0, y is 0 from this part of the graph, this point here, which is from the lower part of this line. So this point, let's try to substitute when x is 0, y is 0. When x is 0, y is 0. This 3 times 0 minus 0 is less than or equal to minus 4. Then that will give us 0 less than minus 4. Is it true that 0 is less than minus 4? No. Realize that 0 is more than minus 4, is greater than minus. So because of that, this statement is false. Now you realize that and we pick his point when x is 0, y is 0 from this point. That is false. 0 is greater than minus 4. And this statement is for 0 less than minus 4. That is for because it is false. And we pick it from this part of the graph. It is this part of the graph we picked it. x0, y0 is here. And that statement is false. Since it is false, we are going to shade this other part of the graph. So this is the place we have to shade. So that is the region that satisfies the equation. I hope I'm making sense. Let's have another example. Now 4x plus 3y is greater than 0. 4x plus 3y is greater than 0. Now let's substitute when x is 0. So what will be the value for y? So we substitute x to be 0 plus, so 4 times 0 plus 3y is equal to 0. 4 times 0 is 0 plus 3y is equal to 0. So that means 3y will be equal to 0. To get y, we will divide both sides by 3. So the value for y will be what? 0. So when x is 0, y is 0. So we have picked this coordinate. When x is 0, y is 0. And if you say when y is 0, is going to give us the same thing. So that means we need to pick another coordinate. Let's say when x is 2. When x is 2, what will be the value for y again? Let's substitute when x is 2. So 4 into bracket 2 plus 3y is equal to 0. 4 times 2 is what? 8. Plus 3y is equal to 0. When we bring this 8 to this side, we are having 3y be equal to minus 8. To get y, we will divide both sides by 3. So 8 minus 8 divided by 3 will give us minus 2.7. So y is equal to minus 2.7. When x is 2, y is minus 2.7. Now we need to plot it on the Cartesian plane. So you draw your x-axis and your y-axis. So the first one says when x is 0, y is 0. So x is 0, y is 0 at the center here. So this is where you mark. Then the second one passing when x is 2, y is minus 2. X is 2 on this line, y is minus 2 here. So this is 2 on x, minus 2. Minus 2 is here. So where does the two line meet? So the two line meet here. So you are going to mark it. So x is 2 here, y is minus 2.7 here. So you look at where the two lines meet, it means here you mark. So you now join this point and this point with a straight line. No, it cannot be with a straight line because this one is just greater than, there's no equality sign. You join it together with a broken line. You join it together with a broken line. So you join it together with a broken line. Now you realize that this line has divided this graph into this part and this part of the graph. Now you realize that we cannot pick the point x is 0, y is 0 here because the line passes through that point. So we need to pick another coordinate. So let's say we pick when x is 1, y is 1. X is 1 and y is 1 at this point. So we can pick x is 1, y is 1 at this point. So let's pick when x is 1, y is 1. Substitute into the equation. When x is 1, y is 1. So 4 times 1 plus 3 times 1 is greater than 0. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 times 1 is 3 greater than 0. 4 plus 3 is 7 greater than 0. Is it true that 7 is greater than 0? Yes. Since that is true, and we pick the point when x is 0, when x is 1, y is 1 are from this point. Since that side is true, we are going to shade this side of the graph. So you shade this side of the graph. Hope it is clear. Let's have another example. We are having all these examples for clarity. 5x minus 2y is less than 0. So now, again, we need to get the coordinates. When x is 0, what will be the value for y? Substitute x for x. 5 times 0 minus 2y is equal to 0. 5 times 0 is 0 minus 2y is equal to 0. So that means we'll be having minus 2y is equal to 0. To get y, divide both sides by minus 2, y will be equal to 0. When x is 0, y is 0. Now, since we've picked when x, if we do when y is 0, to still give us the same thing. So let's pick another number apart from 0. Let's say when x is 1, what will be the corresponding value for y? You substitute there. So that 5 times 1 minus 2y is equal to 0. 5 times 1 will give us 5. Minus 2y is equal to 0. You now bring this 5 to this side, now turn to minus 5. So to get y, you divide both sides by minus 2. When you divide both sides by minus 2, you get y is equal to 5 over 2. If 5 is equal to 5 over 2, 5 over 2 is same thing as 2.5. So when x is 1, y is 2.5. So now you are going to plot it on your Cartesian plane. So this is your plane. You draw your x-axis and your y-axis. Now the first coordinate says that when x is 0, y is 0. So that means that one will be at the center here. You are going to mark it. The second coordinate says when x is 1, y is 2.5. X is 1 on this, in this place, y is 2.5. 3, 4, 5. Y 2.5 here. You will see that both lines meet on this line, so you are going to mark it, so they both meet here. So you now join this and this together. Now, since the equality sign is just less than, you join it together with a broken line. So you join it together with a broken line. Join it together with a broken line. So you've joined it together with a broken line. Now you realize that since the point x is 0, y is 0, the line has already passed through it. So you now pick any point that is either on this side or on this side. So let me pick the point when x is 1, y is 1. So that point is here. When x is 1, y is 1 at this point. So it's at this part of the graph. So if I substitute it into the equation, when x is 1, y is 1, I substitute into this equation. 5 times 1 minus 2 times 1. 5 times 1 is 5 minus 2 times 1 is 2. 5 minus 2 is what? 3. 3 is less than 0. Is it true that 3 is less than 7? That is false. It's wrong. So because it is false, and you know that you pick the point when x is 1, y is 1 at this side, since it is false, you are going to shade this opposite side of the graph. So you will shade this side of the graph. I hope you are following all my explanations. In case you are still having problem, make sure you rewind the video and listen to it over and over again. For the work practice, show graphically the regions represented by the inequalities. 2x plus 3y plus 6 greater than or equal to 0. B. 4y minus 3x plus 5 less than or equal to 0. 2y plus 3x plus 3 less than 0. D. X minus 4y plus 7 greater than 0. E. 5x plus 6y less than or equal to 30. F. 3x less than or equal to 2y plus 12. G. 5x plus 2y is less than 0. H. 2x plus y is less than or equal to 0. Please ensure you like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you.